we start off with a warning that everything we say about this is always going to be a lie because it's language, and we're talking about something that is before or beyond language. So how can we even talk about this?
Well, and that's why the booklet is bullshit, because it's a lie. But anything that we create in language is bound to be, a temporary creation of our minds and not based on anything solid in deeper reality.
Yeah, and the invitation is to read the words and to listen to the words we speak, but to not worry about the wording or to think about the wording, but to look at where we're pointing.
Absolutely. Don't get semantic pedantic. Don't get, oh, that word means that. There should be a different word. Don't do any of that. It's like a menu in a restaurant. If you enjoy the meal, who cares how they described it, right? But the menu is an attempt to get you to know which bits that you might like. So yes, exactly. But the words are just pointers. Go beyond them and have the experience of the word rather than get caught up in the word.
Okay, having said that, we came to this with expectations about what's going to change, why am I doing this, what's going to happen. And here we say nothing is going to change. And yet a whole new dimension opens up. So there's this paradox around expecting and wanting to feel better, to be happier because I've done this. And at the same time, not expecting anything in particular.
Yes. And that's paradox is the right word, because the seeky self will want something to change. That's why someone's listening to us right now. That's why someone's doing the books, very likely. So I think it's a really interesting way of putting it. Nothing's going to change, and yet a whole dimension opens up. So what we're really saying is, come into this knowing you will be no happier whether this does anything for you or not. Come into this with nothing on it, as neutral as possible. That doesn't mean nothing will change, because it's likely it will. And our experience is that it will. But coming in as neutrally as possible really helps the inquiry.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to say here, is it's not going to change your experience or what shows up in your life. You're not suddenly going to see angels or not see other people.
Yeah, I mean, I think any expectation adds in what I would call psychological interference, right? So, and any tracking of progress, as you say, if you're trying to gauge where you're going, adds in psychological interference, which gets in the way of of this. Whether things change for you in what you perceive in the world will happen regardless of whether you've done this or not, right? You can start to see angels. Many people see angels without having read this booklet, right? I mean, there are few. So that's experience, nature doing us. This booklet doesn't automatically change how you see the world. However, cool and amazing things do seem to happen once we look in this direction. But I think having a psychological interference trying to track and gauge that is unhelpful.
Yes, and the same is for the second part of this, which is trying to make something happen. So putting effort and willpower and really trying to work on this, where the message here is this inquiry does itself. So you become interested in it and it pulls you into itself, really almost against your will.
There's like a little travelator you get on. It's like going to the airport. You sort of step on it and it just seems after a while, just like, oh, I seem to be going this way. Or you're walking next to the travelator, seeing if you're going faster than people on the travelator. There is a flow that comes from this, a momentum, a dynamism, which is very different to trying to make it work psychologically. Agreed.
Yes, and even if you do, so even if there is all this trying and efforting, that's fine too.
Yeah. I mean, most people will try and have expectations. So with any thought we don't like, you're going to have it. You can't not have it. Just don't buy into it. Don't get on the train.
Okay. So part of that means forgetting or letting go of all these beliefs, all the information, all the teachings, all the stuff you've heard and learned, about what this is supposed to produce, what it's supposed to be. So to come to this completely new and fresh.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, you can't forget everything you've known, right? That's impossible. But again, a little bit like we were saying before, trying to add in the psychological interference of comparing this to, oh, I saw that in a video, or I read this. It's come at it as bare and as naked and as neutral and as fresh as you can.
So that's what this tries to do, is to be as simple as possible, to give the basic information so that you don't add on all this stuff and can actually do the work.
Yeah, I suppose you could say, compared to many things that we learn and try and adopt, which are additive, this is a subtractive process. You're
Yes.
taking away things here from the psychology, not adding them in.
So in that sense, it's removing all the beliefs and the ideas we have about what that is, and looking, as you said, naked.
Mm.
And it can't be, per definition, it can't be complicated and difficult if we're trying to see something that is already there.
Yes, the only complication and difficulty will be apparent. So if it feels complicated, then you're probably adding more in. And I think one of the things that's really fascinating for clients when they start to see this, when the sort of the penny drops, there is a like, oh, well, that's it. And it's slightly unremarkable, but there's a power and beauty and purity in the unremarkable ordinariness. But it's a lot simpler than they thought in hiding in plain sight, a lower strata of our already existing experience. So, yes.
And this hiding in plain sight is what the matrix analogy refers to, right? It's like starting to see the code of the matrix, which is already there. It's only now you see it, where before you didn't.
It's able to permeate through what we normally focus on, which is the content of our experience. And it's like, when you do Photoshop and there's those layers and you can bring different layers forward. Or it's like a watermark you didn't see on the page and then it comes through. But yeah. So if it feels complicated, that's probably a little indication you're looking in the wrong place.